Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a quest for the best budget IEM featuring the Kefine Delci AE, which I've already reviewed, the Kefine Klean, and the 7Hz G1. These have been some of the most recommended IEMs for me to look at in terms of the budget range, the 7Hz G1 and Kefine Klean. All three of these are kind of following an Harmon-esque curve and are more of a warm, neutral feeling. I think that the Delci AE coming in at the most expensive, the Kefine Klean followed by the 7Hz G1. All of these are single dynamic drivers. I'll show you guys the fit of all three of these, but they are actually, for me at least, somewhat similar in terms of their overall size and their overall feel. These have been out for a while. I know a lot of reviews exist online, so for the purposes of my wallhack certified tier list, let's get right into gaming. Starting with Apex Legends, I do want to say that the Kefine Delci AE is going to be my top preference, followed by the Klean and the 7Hz G1. I wouldn't be able to recommend at all. Although the tunings are somewhat similar on all three of these sets, they do perform quite differently. The Delci AE I have at the top, but I do think you get about 90% of the IEM on the Kefine Klean. These two IEMs are fantastic, and I have the Kefine Delci AE right now scored at a B. I think I would score the Kefine Klean at a B to a B-. The main areas between these two is going to be separation and layering, particularly in gunfights with a lot of gunfire. The Delci AE just remains a little bit cleaner. It's easier to maintain clear information on where everybody is within a fight on the Delci AE when there's a lot going on. So explosions, ultimates, abilities, gunfire in particular are just cleaner and more dissipated on the Kefine Delci AE. You feel it almost with everything, that there's a bit more presence of gunfire, of slides, of abilities and things like that on the Kefine Klean, which is fantastic. But that extra element of separation and layering don't just carry forward. The Kefine Klean is fantastic for the value. You hear a lot of information, particularly when you're approaching buildings. You get a clear indication of footsteps in a building if somebody's running around and exactly where they might be. The depth perception on the Kefine Klean is fantastic. So gunfire at a distance, my crosshair rotates over with a very good amount of precision. Having somebody above me, below me, the imaging, all fantastic on the Kefine Klean. They did a really nice job. And I would say that for me, I do think it beats out the Truth Era Clinical Zero Blues. But I would spend the extra money for the Kefine Delci AE. Again, primarily getting about 90% of it on the Kefine Klean. But that extra emphasis, or that extra added element of separation and layering, is just too good in those big fights. Particularly, again, if you're a more skilled player, you're getting to end circle, you're healing and micromanaging your health and wanting to hear people pushing you, it's a little bit cleaner on the Delci AE. Things when you have third parties, fourth parties, you're shooting, your teammates are shooting, other people are shooting, again, just cleaner, keeping track of everything on the Delci AE. Things feel a little bit more dissipated, a little bit more pushed off of you, including even the ambient noise, as well as your own audio cues, your footsteps, your character moving, octane stim packs, Bangalore smokes, in even the storm feeling a little bit more dissipated. So again, the Kefine Klean, though, absolutely fantastic. And I do think it's probably going to land into that B to B- area. Right now I have the Delci AE at a B. And again, I do think it is the better IEM. When we get to the 7Hz G1, this IEM just does not work at all in Apex Legends. Everything is obnoxiously loud and occlusive on this IEM. So if you're shooting, if somebody else is shooting, I lose out the audio cues almost instantaneously of everything else that's going on. If I'm popping a shield battery, if I'm popping a shield cell, popping a syringe, the extra added emphasis on those things, it is just so sloppy, and I cannot hear anything else going on, that this is just an IEM that is not going to make it on the wallhack certified tier list for Apex Legends. Again, the imaging, when things aren't going on close to me, the depth and gunfire at a depth, a distance, it doesn't sound all that bad. I'm getting a nice element of staging. I'm getting that depth perception. I'm getting a decent element of imaging of where that is coming from at a distance. But as soon as you get into a close range fight, everything falls apart and you just cannot hear anything. It is like a deer in the headlights, and it's to an extent that I just cannot put them on the wallhack certified tier list. Something can have fantastic imaging, but if you are a higher skilled player, or if you're a player who wants something that maintains an information read when a lot is going on, I just don't see the 7Hz G1 being an appropriate IEM for those purposes. For Valorant, things definitely perform quite a bit closer, quite a bit better, and that's because, again, there's not as much hecticness going on as there is in Apex Legends, with third parties, fourth parties, and 9 people being on top of each other at the same time. But the Kefine Delci AE is probably still my pick. It feels the cleanest of all 3 in terms of overall audio cues, not feeling bloated in any direction. Gunfire feels the cleanest, and footsteps as well. Depth perception is fantastic. 2 great IEMs with the Delci AE and the Kefine Klean for Valorant. It's very hard to parse the 2 of them out, but what I will say is if you're looking for audio cues to be a little bit more elevated in terms of footsteps, gunfire, etc., the Kefine Klean feels a little bit more elevated in that regard, but again, not as clean as the Delci AE. I have these right now on top of one another because I think they're too close to call. I think they both perform great for Valorant. Separation layering felt great. The overall imaging in terms of horizontal imaging and people coming out from across behind a wall felt fantastic on both sets. Me personally, I like the cleanliness of the Delci AE a little bit more, but I think both of them have to be at that same level. They both are very good for Valorant. For the 7Hz, they actually do perform quite well. I would say that these perform around a B- in Valorant to a C+. When you are shooting a Vandal, it's not too occlusive to things that are happening around you. I felt like for some reason the phantom gunshots from a distance, for some reason, like the depth perception read didn't feel nearly as clean as the Delci AE or the Kefine Klean. And it is the IEM that the audio cues felt one step closer to me and on top of me in comparison to the Kefine Klean. So separation, layering just don't feel quite as good on the 7Hz G1 as the Kefine Klean. The Kefine Klean, in comparison, I think is just an absolute clear winner over the 7Hz G1. The 7Hz G1, the bass is more bloaty and things are not nearly as clean as they are when you compare it directly to the Delci AE. So there is some saving grace with the 7Hz G1 for Valorant, but definitely not in Apex. The Delci AE still my winner out of the 3, but man, very, very close to the Kefine Klean. So if your main game is Valorant, I would probably save the money and get the Kefine Klean if you are on a really tight budget. Again, the Kefine Delci AE, the ability of the IEM to feel as though the audio effects are more dissipated, more clean, more air, and things are a little bit off of you. But still, again, just great imaging, great depth perception. The elements around the map and footsteps pick up very clearly. I just think this and the Kefine Klean for Val are really, really 2 good IEMs under $100. When we move into Call of Duty, again, I think the Delci AE and the Kefine Klean get super close, both very good and scoring at around the same level. Again, still the Delci AE to me is just a little bit cleaner, and I like that gunfire is pushed off of me a little bit more than the Kefine Klean. I don't find that like footsteps are necessarily coming through anymore to an extent that I'm benefiting from the Kefine Klean. The 7Hz G1 to me is not bad in COD, but not as good. So in COD, like when there are airstrikes going off, cluster strikes, and or you are shooting, if you're cracked and you're having that breathing effect, I just don't find them to be separating or layering very well at all. I think the layering on the 7Hz G1 is actually pretty poor. When there are multiple guns being shot at the same time, it's hard to keep track of everything and getting a feel for the distance. I think that when you hear like more of the mid-bassy, softer footsteps in buildings, you also don't get this really nice read of if they're above you, if they're below you, and you lose out on imaging of those footsteps as soon as somebody starts shooting. I do think that like things parsing through on the map, gunfire at a distance is pretty clean. I think the depth perception is fairly good. It's just something, again, like if you're somebody who's putting yourself in those intense moments, you're 1v3ing a team on Resurgence, or you are somebody who's pushing, you're fighting for kill records, you're playing Rebirth Ranked, which unfortunately is not out right now. But if you're somebody who's like pushing to get a lot of kills and you're pushing to get into a lot of those heated moments, the 7Hz G1 wouldn't be my recommendation. I'm probably going to be putting it for COD at about a C plus, maybe bordering a B minus. For me, these two are great. The Kefine Delci AE and COD, again, things are a little bit more dissipated, but again, you're getting great directional read, good on footsteps. It just remains cleaner. The Kefine Klean, I do, again, find a little bit of a bump on certain audio cues, feeling a little bit louder, a little bit more emphasized. I think they both perform well. Good depth perception, good imaging, good separation, good layering. I think both of these sets deserve to be at a B on my certified tier list, and putting them at some of the highest ratings for things under $100. I think the Kefine Klean, again, if you're on a budget, you don't have that extra money to get the Delci AE, please just get the Klean. I think they are, again, 90% of what the Kefine Delci AE offers. Just a little hit on separation and layering in a multitude of titles, not really Val, because there's not a lot going on. But two great IEMs in terms of separation, layering, depth perception, imaging, as well as verticality in the multitude of titles. I think they feel clean in a multitude of titles as well. And I think that's just very important for you to get that information read when you need it. You can see that just because things are tuned somewhat similarly, they are not going to perform the same. And for something to have like decent imaging, it's not enough to use as a analytical tool for competitive gaming. You need that good separation. You need that good layering, because you don't want to be blind to information when you're putting yourselves into those intense moments. So guys, that is going to be it for this one. I know I owed you this for a very long time. Right now, for a budget IEM under $100, one of my top options is still going to be the Delci AE. I think it's fantastic still, and going back to it, I just emphasize my own opinions about it. The Kefine Klean, again, it's about 90% of the Delci AE. If you're only playing Valorant, I would stick to the Klean and save the money. If you're playing something like COD or Apex, I do think that extra cleanliness and that extra added element of separation and layering for me, it's worth it. But again, if you're on an ultra budget, the Klean is absolutely fantastic. For under $100, these IEMs get my very, very strong approval for competitive gaming purposes. The 7Hz G1, I just can't recommend. Again, like, it has some things going for it for Valorant and a little bit in COD, but it's clearly not as clean as these other two IEMs. The imaging just sounds cleaner. Depth perception sounds cleaner on the Kefine offerings than the 7Hz G1. So for me, that separation and layering, it really is an important factor. And when you hear that cleanliness in fights, you begin to understand the purpose of why it is so important. But again, guys, two very good options for under $100 in the Kefine offerings. If anybody was on a strict budget, go for the Klean. In terms of the next few videos I have lined up, guys, I do have a roundup of a lot of Kiwi Ears IEMs that's going to be coming, new offerings from Kiwi Ears, and I do have a Quest for the Best Headphone video, which will have the Arya Stealth compared to the Ananda Nano and the HD 550 from Sennheiser, and we do have a few other offerings as well, so keep your eyes peeled for that. I'll try to get those to you guys as fast as I can. I'll see you guys in the next review. Peace.